Thank you for joining me, Ashwin Berry, on NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making waves in Namibia and beyond, ranging from current affairs to community stories, sports and economic news. Coming up in this broadcast, NTA sues City of Windhoek over 51 million Namibian dollars unpaid levies. Namibia set for first battery storage system. Mine dribbles cabinet despite raw exports ban. Follow all our programs on oneup2.com or DSTV 285 or GoTV 25 in Namibia. Midday News Update up next. Now, the president of the Security Association of Namibia, Dinginana Uatapama, gives light to a memorandum of understanding it has entered into with the Ministries of Labor and Safety and Security, as well as the Namibia Security Labor Forum. Ohonotlage reports. Visual News highlights local stories from across Namibia right after the break.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the 15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
Now, Dina Namubes was re-elected as the mayor of Swakopmund yesterday at the Municipal Council chambers. The municipality also held its last council meeting for the year. Swakopmund Mayor Dina Namubes shares more.
This is Dana Nabulis, and I'm reporting from the municipality chamber. I am again the delegated representative of the town of Swakopmund, as I have been re-elected by the councillors this morning. I'm really very excited and looking forward to a very fruitful year. As the new term has arrived, we are really prepared to take on any challenges as well as opportunities. We are not going to change anything. I'm going to be humble as before, and we will work together as before, like before. And there we really have a lot of work to do, and I'm really looking forward to it. I really want to thank the Almighty God for the wisdom and the strength that He is giving me every day to take on the challenges and to respond accordingly to all the challenges and as per His will. My decisions are always aligned to the will of God, and I'm very, very grateful. And I also want to extend my profound gratitude to our political leaders. They have really turned us into, or have molded us into elite leaders. We are really unafraid to push the boundaries. We are also capable and has the ability to really change Namibia into a better world or a better country for everyone to live in. Our commitment is still to restore human dignity, and we are definitely going to serve our people with dignity and with love. So it is going to be a very exciting year. We have sat down as council, and we already had a strategy that was approved earlier this year, so we are just going to implement. We are going to just work to the benefit of our people.
Now, MTC has launched online registration on its website, extended company working hours, and deployed teams across Namibia to speed up the compulsory registration of SIM cards.
Could you tell us what the status is of the registration of SIM cards in Namibia?
Yes, so I can only speak on behalf of MTC. We've currently registered just above 800,000 SIM cards. We know that there's still about 3 weeks left. We understand that everybody is a bit jittery, concerned that we still have a long way to go. We have introduced quite a few measures this morning, starting with online SIM registration, where customers can now go online and SIM register themselves. Very, very easy process. That you just click through a link, it asks you for your information, it asks you to take a picture of yourself and a picture of your ID, and if the two do not match, then obviously it's going to reject it. So quite a welcoming development, which is going to increase the uptake with quite a few thousands. We've also extended our mobile home working hours to accommodate people that would come after hours normally. We've also deployed quite a few teams across the country to make sure that we can assist as many people as possible. But I think despite all these efforts, we also have to realize that it might not be possible to register everybody by the end of the deadline. And of course, our appeal would always be to the authorities to consider an extension in the interest of everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome.
After the break, Namibian Sun leads us into the newspaper review segment.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
We get into the newspaper review. Namibian Sun reports that Prime Minister Sarako Ngelwa Amadila says the high rates of poverty and inequality in Namibia Namibia is grappling with our after effects of apartheid's discriminatory policies. She made these remarks at a high-level event commemorating the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights held in Geneva, Switzerland. According to Ngelwa Amadila, a multitude of challenges still inhibit access to global capital markets such as exchange rate and market volatility, debt sustainability, credit ratings, geopolitics, and access to financial instruments and information. Loan conditionality continues to hamper human development due to its superficial indicators, which are not human-centered, she added. On page 3, a 15-year-old pregnant girl was arrested in Walvish Bay on Tuesday after she allegedly stabbed a 27-year-old man to death. It is alleged that the teen mistook the victim for one of a group of men who assaulted her boyfriend the previous day. The suspect's boyfriend was assaulted by 3 men on Monday night, and the men allegedly also threatened that they would harm the suspect by cutting her stomach open to remove her baby. As a result, the suspect allegedly decided to carry a knife whenever she left the house. When the suspect met with the deceased, she mistook him for an assailant of her boyfriend. She stabbed him without saying a word, a police report into the matter read. We move over to Republican. On the front page of the paper, mining companies are exploiting existing loopholes and continue to export unprocessed lithium and other critical minerals from Namibia, despite a cabinet ban to this effect. During a cabinet briefing in Windhoek yesterday, Mines Minister Thoma Lwendo confirmed that the government continues to grapple with the export of critical raw materials despite the ban, which came into effect in June. Only small quantities of specified minerals are allowed to be exported with the minister's approval. According to the cabinet directive, all critical minerals must be beneficiated in country before export. The minister said that the government was working on closing loopholes that allowed the export of critical raw materials to continue. On page 2, Namibia is set to expand its power storage capacity in the energy sector with the introduction of the first ever Omburu battery energy storage system. At the groundbreaking ceremony yesterday, which comprised the signing of the 54 megawatt BESS project engineering, procurement and construction contract in the capital, a joint venture between Shandong Electrical Engineering and Equipment Group Co. Limited and Zhejiang Narada Power Source Co. Limited JV, were confirmed this successful contractors. The project is funded through a 20 million euro grant, about 400 million Namibian dollars, which was received from the German government. On the front page of the Allgemeine Zeitung, the paper reports that after around 20 years of observing the desert-adapted lions in the Kunene region, the population has now been systematically counted in distribution area. From 6 November to 6 January 2023, 4 teams of 45 trained surveyors traversed thousands of kilometers in the Kunene region to locate the individually identify free-ranging adult lions in the area. Now, according to Conservation Namibia, the team consisted of staff from the Namibian Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism in collaboration with lion rangers, the Namibian Lion Trust and field staff from Integrated Rural Development and Nature Conservation. On page 3, Allgemeine Zeitung reports on the most financially extensive independent initiative of the agricultural sector in the private sector to date, which is about to build an export slaughterhouse for 50,000 head of cattle a year, which is on a solid footing. The parent company, Savannah Beef Processors, has, apart from a now increased equity of 280 million Namibian dollars and a further 250 million in loans received, additional funding to secure the construction of the export abattoir near Okahanja. This estimated to cost 479 million Namibian dollars. 2 additional marketing companies have also been acquired as partners and investors. Stay with us as we continue with the Namibian after the break.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with the entertainment.
Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
We continue with the Namibian's front page. The paper reports that the Namibia Training Authority is suing the city of Windhoek in the High Court over unpaid vocational education and training levies, penalties and interest amounting to more than 51 million Namibian dollars. The VET levy is imposed on all Namibian registered employers with an annual payroll of $1 million or more. Such employers have to pay 1% of the value of their annual payrolls to the NTA's National Training Fund. The VET levy, which was gazetted by the government in 2014, is meant to enable the NTA to upskill and train Namibians in key national priority training and occupation areas. On page 3, police spokesperson Deputy Commissioner Kauna Shikwambi confirmed that the Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters notice for a nationwide demonstration has been received and that Inspector General Joseph Shikongo's office will respond. They held a similar protest against unemployment on Independence Day this year, which resulted in the arrest of Michael Amshelelo, fellow activist Debulukeni Nauyoma, and parliamentarian Ina Hengari. Now, their arrests followed Shikongo denying activists the right to protest and the High Court's bid to be allowed to proceed with the protest failing. We move over to New Era's lead story reporting that Nigel van Wyk, recently released on bail, is seeking the recusal of Judge Moses Chinengo from the Fishrot trial. His lawyer Mbanga Siyomunji filed the notice of motion with the Office of the High Court's Registrar on Tuesday and moved the application yesterday. After a very lengthy discussion on the procedures to be followed in a recusal application that all parties involved in the trial participated in, the judge finally conceded to having the matter postponed for the hearing of the recusal application. While the lawyers involved in the matter all argued that the application was interlocutory, which means the main trial is suspended until the finalization of the application, Chinengo was adamant that no law on Namibia's statute says a trial must be suspended to finalize an interlocutory application. On page 3, 9 lives have already been lost within the first few days of the current festive season. Statistics released by the Motor Vehicle Accident Fund for 3 December to 11 December show that a total of 73 motor vehicle accidents and 96 injuries were recorded, which consequently resulted in 9 people losing their lives on the roads. In total, 54 people on Namibian roads during 2023-22 festive season from 22 November to 2 January this year, as released by MVA Fund. The statistics on the number of crashes and fatalities per crash type, as reported during the 2022-23 festive season, specified that pedestrian-related crashes were the most frequent crashes, with 28% followed by collisions and rollovers at 27% each. Additionally, 50% of the fatalities resulted from rollover crashes, followed by collisions at 24%. Now, the MVA Fund Senior Accident and Injury Prevention Officer Abner Itumba said the time has come to urgently address the horrific accidents on the country's roads. Now, the Market Watch reports that the compulsory registration of SIM cards contributed to a reduction in MTC's number of prepaid customers in the telecoms giant past financial year. According to MTC's latest integrated annual report, prepaid customers account for 62% of the group's revenue. MTC reported a revenue of nearly 3.01 billion for the year ended 30 September 2023, about 5.3% higher than the previous book year. The decrease in the prepaid average revenue per user was not sufficient to offset the loss of customers, according to the IAR. The group also reported a 3.7% year-on-year increase in operating expenses. This included a 14.2% increase in employee costs to accommodate additional resources required for new revenue streams and temporary workers to assist with SIM registration, MTC said. Nations strike fossil fuel deal at COP28. More on this in economic news shortly.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Top.
Is die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis julle moontlik gaan byt.
In today's economic news, this is our top story. Representatives from nearly 200 countries agreed at the COP28 climate summit yesterday to begin reducing global consumption of fossil fuels to avert the worst of climate change, a first-of-its-kind deal signaling the eventual end of the oil age. The deal, struck in Dubai after 2 weeks of hard-fought negotiations, was meant to send a powerful signal to investors and policymakers that the world is united in its desire to break with fossil fuels, something scientists say is the last best hope to stave off climate catastrophe. COP28 President Sultan Al Jaber called the deal historic, but added that its true success will be in its implementation. Several countries cheered the deal for accomplishing something elusive in decades of climate talks. It is the first time that the world unites around such a clear text on the need to transition away from fossil fuels, said Norway's Minister of Foreign Affairs Espen Barth Eide. More than 100 countries had lobbied hard for strong language in the COP28 agreement to phase out oil, gas and coal use, but came up against powerful opposition from the Saudi Arabia-led oil producer group OPEC, which argued that the world can slash emissions without shunning specific fuels. Let's head into the indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 18.64 next to the US dollar. 20.29 Namibian dollars gets you €1, and 2.61 gets you a Chinese yuan. Lesego Holdings is up 0.50%, whilst Capricorn Investment Group Limited is down 0.50%. Local index closed down 0.08%, as did Oryx Properties Limited, is down 0.10%, whilst the overall index closed on an uptick. Commodities are all in the green. 1.08 is the upsurge for copper. Brent crude oil 1.19%. The High Court in Uganda's capital, Kampala, has sentenced a 25-year-old serial killer to 105 years in prison. More in News from Africa.
Namibians are still safe.
Everywhere else, the Supreme Court said we are not going to rely on foreign judgments. By all means, we try to not make journalists public figures, but at the end of the day, they are.
Very good evening. My name is Tewen Jebela, your host.
With their Protestant offsprings.
But the implementation, like she's saying, is another thing.
Let's get into the news story from Africa. The High Court in Uganda's capital, Kampala, has sentenced a 25-year-old serial killer to 105 years in prison. Musa Musasizi was sentenced on Wednesday after pleading guilty to the murder of 3 women said to be his girlfriends and a 3-month-old girl who was the child of one of his victims. He reportedly pursued romantic relationships with the women before sexually assaulting and killing them, then burning and disposing of their bodies, the court heard. Justice Margaret Mutonyi said the long sentence was necessary to protect young women, including Musasizi's 6-year-old daughter, the privately owned NTV channel reported. Musasizi had been arrested in March 2021 on suspicion of killing 5 women and an infant. He was convicted for the murder of one of the women in July. At that time, his lawyer asked the judge for mercy, saying that Musasizi, a former street child, had survived a difficult upbringing. Let's swing over to international news, starting with the US.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
In international news, the U.S. House of Representatives voted on Wednesday to formally authorize its ongoing impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden as Republicans unite behind the effort, even though they have yet to find evidence of wrongdoing by the Democrat. Now, the Republican-controlled chamber voted 221 to 212 along party lines to approve the probe, which is examining whether Biden improperly benefited from his 53-year-old son Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings hours after the young Biden refused a call to testify behind closed doors. The White House has dismissed the inquiry as unsubstantiated by facts and politically motivated. Biden is preparing for a possible 2024 election rematch with his Republican predecessor Donald Trump. Trump is the first president in U.S. history to be impeached twice and is currently preparing for 4 upcoming criminal trials. The effort will also almost certainly fail to remove Biden from office. Even if the House votes to impeach the president, the Senate would then have to vote to convict him on the charges by a 2/3 vote, a near impossibility in a chamber where Biden's fellow Democrats hold a 51-49 majority. House Republicans allege that Biden and his family profited from his actions when he served as President Barack Obama's vice president from 2009 to 2017, and they have zeroed in on his son's business ventures in Ukraine and China during that period. Stay with NMH at 1 as we head into local sport after the break.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the
15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune in to Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
Let's get into our local sport stories. Namibia Football Association League Director Mabos Fries has lauded Premier League clubs for honoring their fixtures. The Debari Namibia Premiership season will head into a break for the festive season to resume next year. One of the issues he highlighted is a lack of stadiums in the country. He believes this has affected many of the clubs that could have used their home ground to their advantage. African Connection boxing promoter and founder Emmanuel Ims Moses has his sights set on producing more champions next year. Moses emphasized that reaching this goal requires bringing more sponsors on board. And Namibia's Capricorn Eagles got off to a flying start in the 2023 final leg of the International Cricket Council's Women's T20 World Cup Africa qualifier by beating Nigeria via a 9-run victory in their first match of the tournament on Saturday. Let's head on over to international sport.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Top.
Dis die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik gaan byt.
The Alassane Ouattara Olympic Stadium in Abidjan will host the opening game and the final of the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. The tournament kicks off on 13 January with the opening game and the final on 11 February taking place in Abidjan. The tournament, which was moved from June-July of this year to January 2024 to avoid Ivory Coast's rainy season, will be staged in 5 different cities. Pep Guardiola is hoping to complete his trophy haul as Manchester City manager at the Club World Cup in Saudi Arabia as the Gulf Kingdom shows off its wares in hosting a major international football tournament for the very first time. And Live Golf Chief Executive Greg Norman says that John Rahm's move to the Saudi-backed circuit will create a domino effect of more high-profile players making the lucrative jump. Reigning Masters champion Rahm last week joined Live in a deal worth hundreds of millions of dollars in a huge coup for the upstart tour. If you're just joining us, this is NMH at 1, and we'll get into the highlights from today's broadcast shortly.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Let's get into the highlights from this afternoon's broadcast. The High Court in Uganda's capital, Kampala, has sentenced the 25-year-old serial killer to 105 years in prison. Musa Musasizi was sentenced on Wednesday after pleading guilty to the murder of 3 women. The U.S. House of Representatives voted on Wednesday to formally authorize its ongoing impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden as Republicans unite behind the effort, even though they have yet to find evidence of wrongdoing by the Democrat. And in sport, Namibia's Capricorn Eagles got off to a flying start in the 2023 final leg of the International Cricket Council's Women's T20 World Cup Africa qualifier by beating Nigeria. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa, and the world. Cheers.